California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and...
Well, first, understand, being the inaugural guest, it wasn't really even sure what I was going into, right? Because at the front end, it was like, hey, there'll be no, gotcha questions. It'll just be a discussion, which was largely true. And secondly, when you arrive and they tell you all this stuff, they're like, oh, his son is a fan and all that. It was like so over the top, like charm offensive.
Governor Gavin Newsom has now come out and labeled California's growing homeless encampments as unacceptable. The strange part about this statement is that he's the very figure who made them acceptable in the first place. Under his leadership, sidewalks were practically transformed into open-air exhibitions for drug abuse, theft, and urban decay. At one point, he almost seemed to treat tent cities as a quirky feature of the Golden State rather than the glaring crisis they've become. Now, after years of defending policies that encourage the spread of these encampments, he's suddenly demanding they be cleared from sidewalks and parks. It's a bizarre turnaround, almost as if an arsonist suddenly wanted applause for pointing out that fire is dangerous. Newsom has styled himself for years as a compassionate progressive, and yet the very disasters his policies created are now the same ones he's trying to clean up for the cameras. For ordinary Californians, this isn't leadership, it's damage control. They didn't need a governor to have a late epiphany after the flames consumed their neighborhoods.
Somebody here on this table called this first. That to get any action done, you may have to get the politician to feel the pain of their own policies intimately, and he got it right in the gut, because I predicted In-N-Out was going to be the catalyst because it's his family's favorite restaurant. And when In-N-Out closed, that was a direct shot at him, because you could BS the public, but you can't BS your kids who are now wishing he had gotten recalled.
Gavin Newsom, you just want political power. You have no guiding beliefs at all. Just leave the Democrat Party. That's my advice to him. If you really want to be in elected office that bad, just leave the Democrat Party and just go run as like a moderate Republican and just have some sort of...
They needed someone who would have stepped in before lives and cities fell apart. On live TV, Greg Gutfeld and Charlie Kirk wasted no time exposing the truth about Newsom's hypocrisy. They pointed out that the only reason Newsom finally shifted his rhetoric was because the consequences of his policies hit him at home. Charlie Kirk even predicted this would happen when one of Newsom's favorite family hangouts, In-N-Out Burger, was forced to close locations. Suddenly, homelessness, crime, and regulation weren't just statistics anymore. They were inconveniences his kids could see with their own eyes. You can spin stories for voters all day long, but you can't spin it for your children when they just want fries and a burger. In Kirk's view, the closure of In-N-Out wasn't simply a business story, it was the collapse of Newsom's credibility. It showed that even his own family couldn't escape the reality of his policies. That's why Kirk suggested if Newsom truly wanted to chase political power, he should abandon the Democratic Party altogether and reinvent himself as some kind of moderate Republican. It would be more honest, because at this point Newsom doesn't seem to have guiding principles, just ambition. Gutfeld took the criticism further, describing Newsom's newfound tough talk as a joke. Comparing it to putting on a condom after leaving a brothel, Gutfeld cut right.
So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse. Who hasn't?
What's a condom?
But as always, when a far-left Dem runs for national office,
The governor has spent years ignoring the problem, and only when his personal comfort was touched did he pretend to care. It's not moral clarity, it's self-preservation dressed up as leadership. What makes the whole thing worse is how Newsom has been trying to polish his image on a national stage. He's been making podcast appearances, trying to show a lighter, more approachable side. But according to Kirk, the results have been embarrassing. His numbers, even among Democrats, have taken a sharp dip in trust and authenticity. The charm offensive that was supposed to humanize him has come off as shallow, awkward, and staged.
I'm a member of Turning Point or something, Governor Newsom. It was like it was like almost like nauseatingly positive, right? That in that way, it was very difficult to navigate. I will say, if you look at Gavin Newsom's numbers, there's a Newsweek article, though. His numbers are down dramatically as far as favorability, trust, authenticity since he started this podcast. It's not going very well for him of how people view him. So for that, I will say that I think we have...
The more people see, the less they buy it. Gutfeld summed it up with his signature humor. California under Newsom isn't a model of success. It's a blooper reel. The polished image is nothing but Netflix-level marketing, a flashy trailer hiding a disastrous film. He compared Newsom to a scam app or a bad reboot. It looks great in promotional material, but once you open it up, it's chaos. Tent cities, drugs, broken infrastructure, soaring gas prices. There's only so much gloss you can spray before the rot starts to show through.
Can you define, if you objectively define what a Democrat value is right now? You have Pritzker talking about values, and I'm trying to figure out, if you subtract common sense from the policies, what is the value?
Well, that's it. They can't state what they're for. Trump goes out and he says, we are going to close the border and we're going to fight to do it. He says we're going to clean up America's cities and we're going to fight to do it. So he has a policy and then he has the fight behind it. They just have...
Joe Rogan joined the chorus, pointing out that Newsom's speeches sound more like Instagram captions than real policies. He can sell the dream of California as a paradise, but people are running away from it in record numbers. And when families are packing up and leaving in droves, slogans and hashtags don't hold weight.
Gavin Newsom talks about California. He's like, I'm very big on California, very bullish on California. Hey, they're all moving. The only reason why they don't move is because it's too difficult to move. It's too expensive to leave versus all the bullshit with all the permits and all that. It's too expensive.
Rogan made it clear. Leadership isn't about how polished you look on stage. It's about real results on the ground. Charlie Kirk also reminded viewers that when Newsom was mayor of San Francisco, his city became the epicenter of everything he now pretends to oppose.
Drew a big crowd.
By the way, I knew you were at USC early because my niece, who's graduating...
She was the one with the MAGA hat on.
She was... By the way, I do have to watch. But she was down there and she was like... She said,
you never know. These kids are going to the right.
I'm aware. She said, this crowd's crazy. The point, which is you are making a damn...
Rampant homelessness, public drug use, and streets no parent would feel safe letting their child walk down at night. That was his record. So, when Newsom tries to present himself as some bold reformer today, Kirk asked the obvious question. If he couldn't keep his own city safe, why should anyone trust him with the state, or worse, the country?
That's right. And just to reiterate your phenomenal open, Proposition 11 was voted on by the peak gerrymandering out of the hands of politicians and into this independent commission. Now, it's far from perfect. Some of the maps in California are a little bit creative, to say the least, a little circuitous. But however, it did have some sort of a spirit that the people of California did not want politics involved in the drawing of their maps. In fact, a recent poll shows that 64% of Californians do not want to see Gavin Newsom.
Megyn Kelly, never one to hold back, cut straight to the hypocrisy. She reminded audiences of his infamous French Laundry scandal, where he dined in luxury while Californians were locked down. That moment, she argued, revealed who Gavin really is, a politician who talks about sacrifice, but exempts himself from the rules he imposes. It wasn't just arrogance, it was a billboard of how detached he is from the people he governs.
Gavin Newsom, if you're listening to this, you're a failure. Mayors are actually some of the most powerful people in the country. The police are responsive to the mayor. The building code's responsive to the mayor. The homeless, mayors are very, very powerful. So he was mayor of San Francisco. Would you let your son walk the streets of San Francisco unaccompanied at 1 a.m.? No, you wouldn't. I'm sorry. Your son can't walk the streets of the city.
And then there's the bigger picture. To Kirk, Gutfeld, and Rogan, the issue isn't just homelessness or restaurant closures. It's that Newsom is using California as his campaign stage for the White House. Every press conference, every performance of outrage, every sudden pivot is part of an audition for national office. California's collapse isn't an accident, it's his resume.
This is where the left is really pro-trans. Suddenly, they grow balls. So Newsom is fed up with tent cities, the crime, the urban decay. No, he's not mad about that stuff. He's mad you noticed. It's like a criminal telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 20th.
He's betting that the rest of the country won't look too closely at the fine print. But people are noticing. California under Newsom is bleeding residents, businesses, and hope. Families can't afford gas or groceries, and cities once seen as shining icons of America are plagued by crime and decay. Rogan compared it to a Hollywood illusion, polished, staged, and fake. And just like a movie with terrible reviews, audiences are walking out before the show is over. Gutfeld also mocked Newsom's obsession with social media jabs, pointing to the time he criticized Senator J.D. Vance on X while Vance was at Disneyland with his family.
Gavin goes full douchebag. Jeff, while J.D. Vance was visiting Disneyland with his family, Gavin Newsom criticized him on X, writing, "Hope you enjoy your family time, J.D. Vance. The families you're tearing apart certainly."
For Gutfeld, this was the ultimate sign of misplaced priorities. Instead of fixing his broken state, Newsom was busy picking Twitter fights. It was the behavior of a political influencer, not a governor.
You could be the governor of any state. What would it be? And you might say, oh, I would be in Texas, live free or die. No, that's New Hampshire. Just live free. It's
or just die.
Die or just it's California. Because people can live under the most incompetent governance ever, but it's still California.
Kelly brought the discussion home by warning Americans to pay attention. Newsom's charm and charisma may fool people on first impression, but they can't fix potholes or reduce crime. If California is the model he's offering the nation, then the rest of the country better prepare for decline disguised as progress. She called his political strategy what it is, an endless audition, with voters footing the bill for his show.
Newsom needs to dig himself out of a hole. This is what it's all about. This is about Gavin Newsom's failed podcast strategy. Gavin Newsom had a podcast strategy, which I was the first guest on, where he was going to try to moderate himself and try to do the bro-y podcast culture, of which he was really bad at. He didn't know his facts, his figures. He didn't really know how to deal with facts like myself and other people. And he thought he was going to be welcomed in.
Charlie Kirk described him as a walking contradiction, a man who preaches about climate change while flying private, who talks compassion while ignoring families' intents, who lectures about fairness while living under one of the most elite safety nets in the world. To Kirk, Newsom isn't even a politician anymore. He's a salesman peddling a product nobody wants.
Do you think he really meant that?
I don't think
when he said enjoy it, I don't think he did.
Who knows? Who knows what this lizard person really thinks ever? He's literally the wormiest little snake about.
And that's where Greg Gutfeld landed the knockout punch. He said Newsom might look like a movie star, but his state is falling apart like a bad set piece. California, once the golden dream of America, is now a cautionary tale. And the governor, instead of taking responsibility, is parading around as if the chaos is proof of progress. Gutfeld's warning was blunt. If America follows California's lead, decline isn't coming, it's already here.
Democrat Party, they do not want someone to start a podcast. They want a quote-unquote fighter against Donald Trump. All Gavin Newsom cares about is being president of the United States. That's all he cares about. That's all that this is. This is a 2028 strategy. And so Gavin Newsom is going to try to call a special session to overturn the will of the voters. I thought it was all about democracy, right, Wilkin? It's not democracy. It's about oligarchy.
So, when Gavin Newsom tries to reinvent himself as the savior of the Democratic Party or a future contender for the presidency, people need to remember what his real record looks like. Not the glossy trailer, but the raw footage.
Got the best weather, the best environment. It's a beautiful state. As much as I grew up there, I love it there. And if you're rich, you can pay the outrageous taxes and live far away from the rabble, the stinky rabble. And sure, hundreds of thousands of people are leaving, but it's not that really bothers all of these.
Tent cities, sky-high costs, crumbling infrastructure, and policies that drove people away. His slick hair and smooth speeches may dazzle the media, but the truth is plain on California's streets.
The baseline component of all of this is that the people of California, Republican and Democrat, socialist and libertarian, they don't want politicians involved in the drawing of the maps. Gavin Newsom does not care because he wants to be president more than listen to the voters of California.
Charlie, you remind me of something there. I had forgotten that you were the first guest.
In the end, Gutfeld, Kirk, Rogan, and Kelly all exposed the same reality. Gavin Newsom isn't leading California. He's rehearsing for his next role. And the tragedy is that while he auditions, millions of Californians are left to live with the wreckage.